It doesn't take a huge amount of journalistic nous or perception to take one look at Pistol Whip and come up with comparisons to John Wick, Superhot and Beat Saber. In many ways it feels like the developers' Cloudhead games are practically baiting me to do just that. It's one of those titles that will constantly be referred to in terms of being a mashup of other games and films. It's Mrs. Doubtfire meets Das Boot, that kind of thing. However, you won't find that sort of lazy comparison here. Oh my no. I'm also resisting making constant wanky allusions to Japanese crime films you won't have heard of either, no matter how much they want me to. By this point, VR is becoming primarily the premier consumer electronics method of pretending that you're Keanu Reeves. Of all the titles available on the Quest, Pistol Whip gets closest yet. It wants you to feel like you're starring in a cool, stylish action film. The opening screen of the game stands you in front of a pulsating cinema box office, gun in hand. You shoot a poster and a sexy voice breathes, "Pistol Whip," at you. Almost an offer, or an invitation. Rather like Left 4 Dead, the levels are presented as film posters, all of different identities and flavours. There's an aluminium briefcase to your left containing different handguns to pick from. You want to pick something? You shoot at it. You shoot everything. It's the perfect hors d'oeuvre for what's to come. The game plays out like an on-rails shooter. No, wait, stop, come back. If, like me, you lived through the earlier days of VR, or even just the Quest's initial library, then you'll probably be about sick of that particular genre. Pistol Whip is different. It's different because it doesn't just want to give you bad guys to shoot, it wants to choreograph you doing it. The levels are recognisable urban environments rendered in a distinctive, limited palette. The almost neon, glitchy aesthetic is a triumph, allowing the imagination to run riot. The waves of sharp-suited villains rushing the player are carefully sequenced to the music. Shoot them accurately on the beat, and not only will your score skyrocket, but you'll edge ever closer to full Keanu Varna. The more levels you play and the higher up the difficulty levels you get, you'll discover the intricacies contained in the initially simple gameplay. As you shoot and reload to the music, dodging bullets and scenery, waiting for the perfect beat to cap a fool, you'll appreciate the way that Pistol Whip is training you to be a bullet ballerina, the antagonist in a pitch-perfect dance of death. For all of the inevitable comparisons to countless other films and games that I could draw for this title, it's Edgar Wright's Baby Driver that I think of the most. Whilst the action in that film centres on cars rather than guns, the careful and perfect timing of music to on-screen antics is definitely similar and a joy to be part of. This is demonstrated perfectly by the use of the titular Pistol Whip itself. The sparse occasions when a gangster fool stumbles close enough for you to smack him with the butt of your gun are perfectly judged, like a hi-hat hit in the middle of an amazing drum solo. By default, there's an aim assist active which is designed to help you shoot accurately without worrying too much about looking down the sights. This might seem like heresy, but believe me, it's pretty much necessary given the pace of the game. When you're in there, ducking and weaving and trying to shoot on target and on time, you'll be glad it's there. There's an option to turn the assist off, but be warned. It will not only hand your ass to you, but it will also mince it with some fresh herbs first. If there's one thing that feels slightly unusual, at least at first, it's that your non-shooting hand is useless. Unless you have the dual-wield modifier active that gives you a pistol in each hand, and also reduces your score, the other controller is redundant. I find myself gripping the gun in both hands, with the other hand underneath for support like in them fancy films. Either that, or using the redundant arm to flail while shooting like Robocop. Also valid. I did have a brainwave while playing that the unused controller could be used to activate Deadeye, non-assist mode, on the fly. By bringing up the non-dominant hand to support the butt of the gun, it could activate a non-assisted aiming mode for higher scoring, a bit like scoping in a flat first-person shooter. Delightfully, I suggested this to the developers, and they thought it was a good idea, and that they might consider implementing it in the future. So, bonus points to them for recognising my budding design genius. The game puts a heavy emphasis on the rhythm-action nature of the gameplay. This makes it unique in a way that belies all of the influences it wears on the sleeves of its sharply tailored black jacket. While other devs are falling over themselves trying to reconcile and capitalise on the huge success of Beat Saber, Cloudhead have taken a step back, donned some shades, and picked up a Glock before running headlong at a different target. The confidence, exuberance and style of Pistol Whip are quite breathtaking. If there's one thing that does frustrate me slightly about it, it's that the game's music is very much standard EDM/electronica of the type that every rhythm game of this generation is using. It's varied and brilliantly utilised, but different genres would be very welcome. There's a lot of Tarantino DNA in Pistol Whip. It would be the final cherry on the cake if the game utilised a similarly playful and eclectic approach to music selection to accompany its precision action. Can you tell that the game is so good that I've been forced into nitpicking? The only other caveat I'd really offer is that the game is very active. If you're not used to jumping, leaning and dodging for long periods, you'll definitely feel it in your legs for a few days after your first session in the game. It's not necessarily a bad thing by any means, but worth mentioning before you give your gran the headset and tell her to blast away. There are 10 levels in the game, 10 different music tracks and unique environments to run through. Technically, you can complete the game in less than an hour, if you're a big wuss and put everything on easy and breeze your way through. But that would be massively missing the point and the appeal. The challenge is considerable, and even on normal difficulty you'll be more than breaking a sweat. You'll want to beat your score, you'll want to find cooler ways to best certain sequences, and see how you fare on higher difficulties. Or maybe you'd like to try dual-wielding your way through the levels like Harvey Keitel with a bus to catch. There are modifiers and options aplenty to both tailor the game to your playstyle and provide additional challenges once you think you're approaching mastery. It's also one of those big show-off titles you want to share with friends and family, and I'll wager a fair few of them will end up putting a quest at the top of their Christmas lists as a result. So much more than the sum of its parts, Pistol Whip is an addictive title that's immediately appealing and compulsive, but with huge amounts of replayability for dedicated players. An original title just bursting with style, it's a must-play and a system seller. It's so immersive, you'll want to wear a sharp suit to play it.